Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the rise and fall of Anthony Showtime Pettis. Very interesting fighter here. He did a lot of good things when he was really young. I mean, just look at his accolades. In 2013, he was the number 3rd MMA fighter of the year. He is 21st greatest MMA striker of all time. Current best MMA lightweight fighter is 103. MMA Fighter of Year of 2012, he was number 17. So just look at that transformation there. And number 58 greatest MMA fighter of all time. Kind of hard to think that at this point. His record right now is 25-14. His UFC record is 11-9. His PFL record is 1-4. And he's He's lost 3 decisions, and he was finished by Stevie Ray, and then lost a rematch against Stevie Ray. In WEC, he was 5-1. But again, very interesting style fighter. He fought a lot for Gladiators Cage Fighting. He went 8-0 for them, or 9-0 for them. No, 8-0, yeah. Wait, fought 7 times for Gladiators Cage Fighting. And then fought Mike Campbell in the debut for WEC, triangled him in less than a minute 50, and then fights Bart Palaseski, I think that's how you pronounce it, and lost a split decision. And Bart is really good. Fought for the UFC, I believe he was like 1-2 or something like that, but he KO'd Tyson Griffin back then, when Tyson Griffin was a very fun fighter to watch and had some pretty good victories, like KO and Hermes Franca back then, which don't really want to talk about Hermes Franca nowadays. And then he actually gets a KO win against Danny Castillo. And then fights Alex Karalexis, Shane Roller, Benson Henderson. Showtime. That's where the Showtime kick comes in. When Benson Henderson was almost on the rise, almost hit that point, not quite there at that point. Then fights Clay Guida in his debut and loses a dominating decision. He gets dominated, but then he beats Jeremy Stevens by split, Joe Lozon by finish, Cowboy by finish, Benson Henderson armbar for the title. Was supposed to fight Jose Aldo there, ends up not happening. Fights Benson Henderson instead. Was supposed to fight Josh Thompson, doesn't happen. Fights Gilbert Melendez instead. I believe they did the Ultimate Fighter together, and he was having some success. Yeah, the Gilbert Melendez fight, which is what we were just talking about. At that point, he was 17-2, and Gilbert was 22-3. Very impressive record for Gilbert Melendez coming back from Strikeforce. His style never really translated very well to the UFC, but in Strikeforce he was really good. A lot of good fights with Josh Thompson, really good fights. And there he kept catching Gilbert as he was coming in, ends up submitting Melendez. I believe that's Melendez's only finish, only time getting finished in his career was the one submission by Anthony Pettis, a guillotine choke. About a 153 of round number 2. But then, a couple months later, he fights RDA and gets completely dominated in that fight for 5 rounds. Gets beat up, gets grappled. I mean, he gets beat up. Then he's supposed to fight Miles Jury, and that fight completely falls apart. So then he is off for almost an entire year. So about 10 months. Comes back, fights Eddie Alvarez. Close fight, split decision, loses it. Very close fight. Fights Edson Barboza, 29-28. I think some people thought he won that fight, but it was a close fight as well. I think he moves down a weight class, fights Charles Oliveira, and actually submits Charles Oliveira with a guillotine. And he's now 19-5. So then the UFC gives him a title shot about 5 months and a couple days later, and he fights Max Holloway and gets destroyed. Early, looked decent, looked how Showtime would look, but that weight cut was killing him. And Max Holloway just put the pressure, put the pace on him. He could not keep up with it. Comes back, fights Jim Miller, wins a decision over Jim Miller, which was honestly pretty impressive to do that style. Jim Miller was battling his what's that called? His disease that he has. I can't think of what it is now, but somebody let me know in the comment section. I can't remember what it's called. Damn it. Okay. And then he fights Dustin Poirier, third round, and then he taps from a rib injury as Dustin is on in mount or in full, body triangle or whatever, which is a little bit of a weird one. Kind of the same thing that happened when he fought Stevie Ray. Honestly, it was a little bit weird. Then he comes back, he moves back up, fights Michael Chiesa, and looks damn good. It's like, oh, okay. He must be back. He looks really, really good. And fights Tony Ferguson, has a great first round, great first half of the second round, but as he broke his hand, the fight started to turn. You see Tony Ferguson get his groove back a little bit. And then he loses that fight, breaks his hand, corner stoppage, stops it. Duke Roufus is not letting his fighter fight with a broken hand. Then he fights Wonder Boy. And he's getting pieced up a little bit. He is hitting Wonder Boy, but he's getting pieced up. And then Wonder Boy gets caught with a Superman punch, and still to this day, the only guy to finish Wonder Boy Thompson, which is kind of crazy, to be honest. And then he actually has a grappling match with Jorge Masvidal and goes to a draw. Then he helps Nate come back and loses the decision where he looks pretty good early, but as the pace and the pressure of Nate builds up, as this 3-rounder is, Nate really beat him up. Hits him with the knee, I believe, in the second round. You think he's going down, that the fight's going to be over, but he survives. And Nate beat the crap out of him the last 2 rounds. And then he comes back, fights Diego Ferreira, and Anthony Pettis is having some success with his leg kicks. He's doing all these really, really good things. And then he gets pressured, gets bullied, and then Ferreira rear naked chokes him, which was like, all right, that's a little weird. Then he comes back and he fights Donald Cerrone. And personally, I thought Cowboy won this fight. I thought Pettis won the first round, and I thought Cowboy won the second and the third. In the third round, Cowboy hits him with a head kick that was disgusting. When Joe interviewed him, he said, I'm still recovering from the head kick. I don't really know where I'm at. He got hit hard. His last fight in the UFC was against Alex Morono. And he wins it. He looks really good. He looks really fast. He hurts Morono on a multitude of occasions. And the reason why I'm talking about him right now, because from the last fight that he had in the UFC against Alex Morono, he's now, again, 11-9, 2 wins. So take these 2 wins away, he's 9-9. All right, so in 2020, he's 11-9. So before that, when he fought Clay Guida, obviously he's 0-1. So he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-1 in the UFC until he loses to RDA. 5-1. And then from that RDA fight, he only won, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 and 7. Obviously, that would be correct. 6 and 8. He lost a buttload. His record went like this. And again, he just had a boxing fight with Roy Jones Jr. And obviously, it's not Roy Jones in his prime because Pettis would have gotten lit up like a Christmas tree. He wins the majority decision, but this is a guy. And again, now he's 1-4 in the PFL, and he beat Miles Price, who Miles Price is 11-10, 3 losses in a row, 5 submissions on his record, losses. He's not very good. I mean, credit to him for fighting 21 times, but when you only win 11 of them, it's a bit of an issue. And you've lost a lot of your fights by submission, half of them. So, okay, that's your 1 win. Your 2 losses against Stevie Ray, who Stevie Ray's okay at this point. Loses to Clay Collard. They have a good fight, but you got to win some of these fights. It just seemed, and then he fights Roy Jones, wins a majority decision, but this was a Roy Jones who was hesitant to pull the trigger. This was the Anthony Pettis who was hesitant to pull the trigger. It doesn't really make sense when these non-striker like punchers do boxing, because like Pettis, he was always good mixing in his kicks to his strikes. It'd be like Yair going to box when Yair's not a boxer. He's a kicker who uses his punches to set up his kicks. It's like when Frank Mir took a boxing fight and got destroyed because he's not a boxer. He'll use his boxing to get to his grappling, but he's not a boxer. And he's had issues with taking punches in his career. I mean, you look at it, most of his losses are by TKO or KO. I mean, I don't understand that at all. So, and again, this was a guy at one point, he was damn good. He was damn good. He fought in the UFC for 9 years, and 4 out of his 9 losses are by finish. 3 by TKO or KO, and 1 by submission, which was Diego Ferreira. The Anthony Pettis that we knew when he fought Gilbert was gone almost when he fought RDA and Eddie Alvarez and Edson Barboza. Yeah, he beat Charles Oliveira, but Oliveira went down a weight class, so did Pettis. So that's a weird one. Just destroyed by Holloway. Jim Miller was fighting his disease, his tick. Oh, what's that? I'm thinking of it now. It's I can't remember what it is. I thought I had it. Beats Jim Miller, but he was fighting that disease that he had. Dustin Poirier beat him up. Chiesa got caught, which he looked good in that one. He looked good in the Tony Ferguson one. He looked okay against the Wonder Boy. I'm not saying that Pettis is isn't good, but he's not as good as he used to be. And a lot of that is, I think, a lot is commitment. A lot of it is being refreshed. I think that's why he was so excited to do the boxing fight, because it's something different. But he just hasn't fought well in such a long time. I mean, again, he was 17-2 fighting RDA, and now he's 24-14. I mean, it's a little bit wild. No, he's 18-2. I'm sorry, 18-2. So he's what, 6-12 in his last 18 fights? Not good. Not good. This is a guy who went from the Wheaties box to boxing Roy Jones Jr. and beating him by majority decision. But again, it's not like it's that young of a Roy Jones. And were they really trying to KO each other? 8 rounds, 3 minutes. I don't know. I don't know. Not good. It's just not good. It's one of those things that sucks to see when a fighter gets older. And Pettis is only 36 years old. I'm not saying he's old, but he's older. A lot of miles on him. But subscribe, guys. Like the video. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, peace.